Good evening and welcome. Beautiful day here in Devon. It's ca- my accent came out then. Beautiful day here in Devon. But anyway, yes, it's been a beautiful day in Devon and really good and beautiful weather. And the worst thing about me last week was that I went out down to the seafront and all of a sudden it poured down and I got drenched. And on the way back, it was like someone that fell in a pond or came in, and my wife looked at me and said, "How are you so wet?" And the trouble was, it was pouring it down. I was on my scooter coming back from the seafront, and I wish the scooter was around about 50 miles an hour. I would have been all right, but I got wet. Tonight, guys, we got Susan Lee. Oh, I'll tell you what, every week I look forward to this. I always learn something. Susan Lee, how are you?
I'm excellent, thank you. I managed to avoid all the wet weather, so it's been okay here in sunny Manchester.
Manchester, oh yes, I remember Manchester too well. Yeah, it's really nice up in Manchester, especially the canals and everything, isn't it? Really good.
Yeah, I love that. I do a walk every early morning along the canal, the towpath, whatever the weather. I think I've only missed about 3 days when it's been really icy or absolutely, completely soaked up to tops of your wellies. Other than that, I've been out every day, which is lovely. So
Yeah,
it's good.
but what the topic I want to talk to you about today is, about where starting again. Where are our friends and everything? Because when
Yeah,
we do start again, and we kind of like sort of lives out, and we kind of like, things that's happened in the past, like a relationship or anything. Sometimes, the friends that we had are there no more.
mm, it's
Or
very true.
sometimes we got friends and they're there, but only temporary. It depends, isn't it?
Definitely. I think it depends on the circumstances. I mean, you get some people who, if they were in a long-term relationship, for example, or if they were working at the same place for a long time, a lot of their lives are bound up in those relationships that they've made at work or at home or wherever it might be. All the people in their lives are there because of the circumstances. But if that situation changes, it can be very difficult to suddenly start flailing around and starting again because you haven't got those connections anymore.
Yeah, it's so difficult because the trouble is when a relationship ends, the trouble is the partner that you are with, the friends come on board on that relationship, don't they?
It can
And
be the case, or sometimes it can get very difficult with people feeling perhaps compelled to take sides, and that itself can be very awkward. Or if you were partnered and now you're suddenly single, you may be viewed a bit suspiciously, where
mm,
excluded from arrangements that perhaps you'd have automatically be included in before. So that whole thing, whether it's a new job, you're moving away from home to study, you're suddenly newly single out of a relationship, you've left a club or a group because of whatever reason, you can be in a situation where you're already perhaps feeling a little vulnerable. And then on top of that, there's the loneliness and having to make the effort, and perhaps the confidence has taken a bit of a hit where you now have to start finding ways to get out the front door
yeah,
and,
yeah,
and, and
yeah.
finding ways to join in with things and forge a new tribe, a new group of people who you're friendly with.
But that's not difficult, is it? Because that sometimes that is difficult because it's a new group, it's a new set of friends. You're looking out who to trust. You know,
Absolutely. And I think the danger there is being too desperate. I think it's important sometimes if you are in a new place or you're in a new set of circumstances, you may already be feeling a little depleted. You may already be feeling a bit vulnerable, a bit lonely, a bit lost, a bit rejected. There can be all sorts of reasons that for why the breakup happened and what you're taking on board as being the implications on you. And so I think there are a few things that it's important to take on board if you are starting out again for whatever reason. I think the number one is to start looking after yourself, because it's
Mm,
very easy in those circumstances to say, I'm rubbish. No, nobody wants me, nobody loves me, I'm no good, I'm not interesting, whatever. We can go through all those narratives. And I think the first thing is to say, I'm not desperate. I'm going to take a little bit of time to sort myself out, to feel good, to be clear in my own mind what really interests me. You may have been part of a sports club or something, and now you've realized, actually, yeah, it was fun while it lasted, but it doesn't have to be with me forever. I
mm.
can look at something different. What else is there around? What else might appeal? Is there some sort of training that I could do? Because when you go to the same place regularly, perhaps at the same time, you start meeting the same people. And what starts out as a nod of recognition can perhaps become something a little bit more, a bit of a friendship, a bit of an invitation, an opportunity to join something that you may not have thought about. And these people may not become your next bosom buddies, but there may certainly be a lifeline to getting out there and doing things that are interesting and keep you occupied.
Yeah, yeah. I remember moving to Newcastle once, and I had to meet a new set of friends because when you move, you get a new set of friends. And the lady that I met, who I went into a relationship with, she said one day, she said, "Right, we got a date tonight. I want you to meet my friends." So I thought, right, she said, "I want you to bring a pair of shorts and a pair of trainers." I said, "What are we doing? Are we playing tennis?" And she says, "No, we're playing hockey."
Wow.
Right? So I thought, right, okay. Now I've got to be careful what I'm saying here because my wife will laugh at me. But do you know those skirts, what the hockey ladies wear? I had to wear one of them over my shorts. So I had my shorts on and I put that on. And all of a sudden she said, "Right, we've got a friendly tonight, and I want you to play. And it's only a little mess about, but it's against a team from Winslow or Wonslow or whatever it is."
Wilmslow's near me.
Is it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And we're playing a team, and I thought, right, okay, a friendly. They're on tour or something. I don't know what's going on. So anyway, I said, right, okay, I'll go then. That'll be all right for me. I don't have to do any running around. But don't forget, I was like slim, thin. I was there, and I was in go, and okay, we lost 8-0. But the trouble is, the trouble is, right, thanks, Joe. But the trouble is, at the end of the day, the trouble is when we go anywhere, if we meet new friends, we got to be so careful who we can trust, who we can kind of like, kind of, you know, how they can kind of, what can I say, trust and confide in. You know what I mean? Because
Mm.
you know we could kind of like meet new friends and we don't know who they are, and they can just go off, spread, like rumors, spread rumors around us. You never know, do you?
That absolutely. And I think that there's 2 points there, is that one is that, well, it's three actually. One is accepting invitations is a really good way to meet new people. So I think it is
Mm,
important to, rather than go, oh my goodness me, no, I can't do that, I don't know you, all the rest of it,
yeah,
being overtly cautious, we decline things. I think so. One is to accept invitations. It is a positive thing to do. Two is to do things that you might not normally entertain doing, and that's great, because some situations are very much conducive to making new
mm,
friends. So a team sport, or something where there's a group of people, whether it's amateur dramatics or a class or night school or something, all those situations are very much conducive to meeting people. But I think you're absolutely right. The third thing is that as soon as you meet somebody, you're not necessarily volunteering everything about yourself. You're not necessarily trusting them completely with everything about
mm.
you. It's step at a time. They're feeling the same way too, probably. So it is a
Yeah, yeah,
cautious
yeah,
moving in the right direction, but being a little bit wary, a little bit cautious, but nonetheless allowing yourself to meet new people. Because don't forget, as a kiddie, we all got told, don't speak to strangers. And that was a sort of life rule as a child. But if we
mm,
do that as an adult, we'll never
mm.
get anywhere.
Oh
So
yeah.
at the end of the day, trusting your gut, speaking to people, being a little bit cautious and not necessarily revealing, disclosing. You're not going to have everybody around to your house on day one necessarily. So
Mm.
it's about just softly, softly taking it as a go, meeting in public places perhaps, and doing all those sorts of things where you gradually build your confidence in each other and trust.
How can we choose our friends though? How can we choose the friends that will fit in, in our daily lives? You know what I mean?
Well, I think the first step is where you meet people, you have a common interest. So it might be that you're meeting somebody on the bus every morning. You see the same people are on your walk every day, or at the gym every time, or at work. So you start off by having something that's a theme of a common interest. I'm actually
Mm,
just writing an article about this at the minute, about how we assume we know everything about everybody just because we have one or two common points of interest. So we start off by nodding, smiling, recognition. We
mm,
might gradually grow into a few words of greeting. We might gradually go into conversation. One of us might suggest going for a coffee later or at another time,
mm,
or phoning, or whatever it could be. And gradually, step at a time, we get to know people. Now, it may be that certain people add value just to certain areas of our lives. I know when I worked at corporate years ago, my boss and I were very close, friendly wise, And he left. I mean, we'd worked together for, I don't know, 15 years, and he left, and a fortnight later came in to say hi to everybody, and we said hello and all the rest of it. And after about 10 minutes, I was thinking, I've got work to do, and he was sat there. And sometimes it can be that the common interests that you have are only useful, only working in that particular setting. And
mm,
so it can be that we have people we are dead friendly with. We might have all gone out for a few drinks after work. We might have had a Christmas lunch together. We might have exchanged presents or whatever it was. But
mm,
and known a little bit about each other and the names of each other's kids or the wives or partners or whatever. But sometimes we have friends who are only working in that particular sphere, and they add value, a lot of value to our lives, perhaps value that we can't get from our friends or our family. And they're great source of comfort or advice or uh, contact in different things that we enjoy doing, but they're only specific to those areas, and that's okay. But it's trusting, building a step at a time, but gradually realizing that one or two people don't necessarily fill every void, every area of our lives for everything.
mm, mm. Yeah, it's so difficult, isn't it? Because when you kind of like, especially me, when I moved to, I remember going to Newcastle. It was like a eye opener, for me because I was coming from Plymouth, going up to Newcastle. It was like a new world. It was a new set of friends, a new area, getting to know. After the time I got lost, but
Yeah.
you know, I needed a sat nav, I think, but it was really bad, and but the trouble is, it's okay for when you move away and kind of set up, and be kind of like meet new friends. But the trouble is, I find it with me. I don't know if I got the problem with it, but I think trusting is a big issue.
Okay. And that's absolutely fine. And I think sometimes if we are in a new area, keeping in touch with our old crowd, if we can do that, can be useful, and that can provide support, and that can help us feel less lonely and less isolated and less desperate to accept people. So I think trust is a slow burn, but if we are starting afresh and we're able to keep in contact by text or Zoom or whatever mechanism, and it's a lot easier these days, then that can give us a little bit of a buffer in those situations, because we do
Mm,
have our core of people, our team behind us who we can trust, and we feel good about them, and they help us to feel a little bit stronger about ourselves. And I think
mm,
the next thing in there is also to do things on your terms. So if you are in a group, a work group or a social group or something, find out what's going on locally. So if
mm,
there's a show you want to see, or a concert that's coming up, or a talk, or a walk, or something that's being organized, and you fancy it, why not rally a few of the people in your life, your new life, and say, hey,
mm,
anybody fancy joining in with this? And then you find the people who have shared interests, or prepared to come along
mm,
with you, and you can learn to trust them as being companionable, as being, there's a big difference, in my opinion, between people who are friends and people that we're friendly with. The
yeah.
people who are friends are the genuine people who might not have known you your whole life, but certainly know a lot about you, are supportive. They're not just there when it's party time, they're there as a supporter and you support
Mm,
them, and those sorts of things. The people we're friendly with are the people who are oil the wheels of our lives, who we perhaps go out with, we have a few drinks with, we can phone them up and say, I'm at a loose end, do you fancy going to see a film? Or
mm,
fancy going for
yeah.
a bit of a walk or something.
Yeah.
And those people are they're the most people that we have in our lives, and they're okay. We can get by with them as they can get by with us.
Yeah. Yeah. In your position as a counselor, sometimes it can be difficult, can it, to kind of like our friends who kind of like actually contact you and say, "Look, Susan, I need help," and clients. Do you ever get that?
What, friends who want to be clients?
Yeah.
Occasionally, I've done a little bit of work with people that I'm friendly with, and I'm pretty good at striking the boundaries. So, if on the rare occasions that a friend has been in a bit of a jam and needed some help, I might say, we might chat for a few minutes, and then I'm very good at saying, right, we've got the friendly chat out the way. Okay, head on, professional head on. Right, let's talk about what's going on here. And I'm very good. I mean, I've been doing this job a long 30 years now, so I'm very good at not discussing any of that outside of the room. If I don't even let anybody else know they're seeing me. I mean, whether they're friends or not, I mean, that confidentiality, clear about boundaries. But sometimes it's good to be able to do, maybe a session where I'm helping somebody de-stress a bit, or helping somebody feel a bit better about themselves, or, really just giving them a bit of personal time away from perhaps a situation that's troubling them, where they can get a different perspective. So sometimes it's a valuable addition to a friendship, which adds
Mm,
another level of support, where there's that caring going on, that they know they can trust me, but at the same time they get something that is really good value for them, that actually helps them in their lives. And I'm honored if that happens. And it doesn't happen very often, but it does happen occasionally, because people that I'm friends with would not particularly want to impose necessarily, though I am fine if they occasionally do that.
yeah. Yeah. So why I mentioned that is because sometimes we kind of like sometimes find it hard to kind of like 1 minute, they could be friends, and the next minute as like friends, but soon we start telling people our problems, say, or areas in our life that are not, what can I say, that's not right. We got problems and everything, and they could, our true friends could turn around and say, oh, really, I don't really want to know that, and it could put them off, couldn't it?
I think, I mean, I think there's an interesting thing here, that I think a good friend will listen to you when you are going through a bad time, will let you decant, will let you vent, will let you come out with all of your stuff. But I also think that a good friend will sometimes say, enough, stop it. Because every time we meet, that's the only thing we're talking about. We've talked about this relationship, this situation, nothing new's happening. You're going through it. We've been going through it now for days, weeks, whatever. Stop it. Let's change the subject. Because I think if you're not careful, it can be that every time you see your friend, you're thinking, oh my goodness me, here we go again. It's going to be that whole story. And,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's not good for them, and it's not good for you, and it's not good for the relationship. So I do think sometimes a good friend will sometimes say, stop with the introspection, stop with the analysis. Let's change the subject. So yeah, I think if a person is in need of talking, sharing, offloading. There's new stuff happening. They're overwhelmed. They're really in a desperate place. Yeah, it's good. It's important that they know that they can talk to you. But I do
mm,
think there has to be sometimes, you've got to trust your instinct. Are we just going over old ground? Is it just that every time we see each other, that's how is it going? What's happened? What's he
mm,
or she done now? Where are you? It
mm,
can be that we're just churning it over like picking at a saw. And I think sometimes we have to say, stop, leave the saw alone, let it just settle for a day or two. If you need to talk to me about this, okay, I'm here. But let's bring some sunshine into this. Let's have a bit of fun. Let's have a cocktail or
yeah.
a dance or whatever, or something that is a lighter touch. And sometimes they need it too. Sometimes you need it, sometimes they need it. Sometimes a friendship needs a bit of air and light and lifting and a different vibe.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. So if somebody out there now who is kind of like listening and they are kind of like having problems, are kind of like they've moved or they're starting all over again, things happened in their life, and they say, right, I'm going to start all over again, and they want to kind of like meet friends or new friends, what advice can you give to them?
I think have a look around, see what's happening locally, see what's going on. Not everything needs to be paid for. So see if there's any groups, any talks, any sporting events, any classes, anything that is of interest to you. See what you fancy. Um, Check if you're going to a place, like a work situation. As I said before, maybe ask if anybody else wants to join you, so you can maybe even get your own little group going. Be receptive. I think the other thing about it is to keep up to date with stuff that's topical. I
Mm,
know I know quite a few people. A couple of my friends are fitness instructors, and they sometimes watch what I call the trash TV. The stuff that is popular. So they
mm,
might watch the soap operas, or they might watch a few of these documentaries on, I don't know, cosmetic surgery that's gone wrong or something, because they know a lot of people in that group are interested in that kind of thing. And so they have things that they can talk about. So we're
topic.
not churning over about Brexit or Corona or whatever, but we're
Yeah.
talking about things that are in the press, that are topical, that might be a bit celebrity or fun based. Did anybody see? What did you think about? So you've got things that you can talk about. You can join in conversations, ask for help. Ask, is there anybody doing anything? Anybody fancy doing anything? Anybody free this weekend for a coffee or a walk or whatever? So I think it's being receptive, being available, smiling, and as I said before, accepting invitations. If somebody else, I mean, I'm single, and often in the past, if somebody said to me, anybody want to go and see this show or this concert? So I've gone to loads of things that I don't particularly want to go to, that I'm not particularly interested in. But somebody said, there's a concert on, do you fancy it? Or a show on, do you
Mm,
fancy it? And I've gone, yeah, me, include me. And
mm,
that's great, because I get out, we may have a meal beforehand, we may go and see a show, we get to know
mm,
each other a bit better. We may not become bosom buddies, but it's a friendly enough relationship where people know that you're available, and that's the important thing. So I think there's all that stuff where it's good to take those first steps, but nobody's gonna, if you're sat on Mount Snowdon, waiting for the bus to pass, it ain't gonna happen. And sometimes you have to get down that mountain, find the bus stop, and stick your hand out and say, I'm here, I'm available, let me join in. And you have to
mm,
be the guy who, because don't forget, if you're new to an area, a lot of people have already formed their existing social groups.
mm,
You're the new kid on the block. So if you want
mm,
to join in and be accepted and acceptable, you have to stick your hand out and say, let me join in. I'm here, I'm fun, I'm willing, I'm available, I'm happy to join in. All those things will make a huge difference and help you start finding a new circle of friends.
brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Listen, guys, all I can say to you is this: that if you are kind of like, if you move to an area, you know, try to meet new friends. Even if you're in the queue at the post office or in the shopping aisle or whatever you do, at the end of the day, life is about making relationships. And when you make those relationships, you're not just kind of like kind of making a friend for yourself, but you may make a friend for life. And while we're all alive and everything and kind of like doing our daily business, when you're out, smile to someone. You might not know them, but smile. And then say hello. But in the meantime, guys, just kind of like be a friend to anybody and everyone. Thank you, Susan. Thank you.
My pleasure.
I'll speak to you in a minute. Second.